right, welcome everybody to our regular scheduled City Planning Commission meeting. Today is Wednesday, June 5th. It's 5:16 PM. I'll call this meeting to order. In attendance, we have Commissioners Veliker, Behrens, Mayor Smith, Olson, and we also have staff, Jared Kivila and Aaron Jensen, our city administrator. We do have a quorum. We do have three members that are absent, though. We have Commissioners Gusky, Waller, and Lesage that are excused absences tonight. You have an agenda in front of you. We just need a motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Barron, second by Olson, that we approve the agenda as printed. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against, say no. Motion carried. You have some planning commission minutes from public hearing that we had on May 8th. And we also had our regular meeting on May 8th too. We just need a motion so that we can place these on file.
Move to approve and place on file.
Second.
Motion by Veliker, second by Olson, that we approve those 2 minutes from May 8th. Discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against, say no. Motion carried. Action items. Final plat, River North Ridge subdivision, on Royalton Street. J-Rod, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. So this one starts on page 6 of your packets. This is the application or the final plat for the 35 single-family home lots as part of Phase 1 in River North. The preliminary plat did come forward to Plan Commission and Council, received comments. We got all those comments back to the engineering firm creating the plat here, and they made the adjustments as needed. They have then submitted the final plat with those adjustments back to the city to go through the final plat process, which would be Plan Commission and Council, Plan Commission recommendation, Council approval, similar to the preliminary plat. So staff looked through all the changes that needed to be made, appeared to be made. Staff had no additional comments, and also note that the developer did send this off to the state for their technical review and sign off as well. So it will go, upon your recommendation, it'll go to council, and council would either approve it if the state has approved it, or they'd approve it contingent on the state approval. So a couple different avenues that can go for the council, but we hope to have the state approval by that time. So happy to take any questions if there are any. Not sure, I guess I did not see if the developer and the engineering firm were online. Yes, they are. So if there are any direct questions,
yes,
for them,
we are.
Please let them know, and I'm sure they are happy to answer.
I got a question. Is there any significance to the name Huffcut?
Oh, yeah.
I don't recognize it.
Former mayors.
That's a
Right,
former
Lewinsky
mayor?
Street.
Yeah.
Well, that I know, but Huffcut.
Yeah, Huffcut, Ivan, right?
Yeah, so what we did is we looked at, we started with the most previous lawyer, or mayor, which was Mayor Lewinsky. And then the previous one was Boyer, who has a park named after him, so we didn't include him in this. And then the one before that was Dan Schomer. And then Ivan Huffcut would have been right before him,
You know what years that would have been?
70s.
All right. Before my time here.
Yeah, so, yeah, Dan, I think Dan Schomer was from 82 to 8, no, maybe it was 80 to 84, something like that. And Ivan would have been for 4 years, like 76 to 80 or something like that. We have it somewhere, but yeah,
That's nice to see.
yeah.
And I believe the engineer and developer can correct me if I'm wrong. Right at this point, it's Lewinsky Way, and then Huffcut has Huffcut Court and Huffcut Lane because it's kind of the same road, just different directions. And then Schomer.
That's correct.
Schomer will be reserved for a future street in future phases.
Yep, there will be opportunity to name a street for him as well. in future phases.
He's the only other one that's still alive. Okay. All right. This is something that we've seen numerous times. It doesn't look like it's changed. Looking forward to getting going on this. And so the timeline now, Jarrett, is once we approve this, we're gonna see, machines in the ground and,
So your recommendation will go to council on the 18th. And then after the 18th, anticipating that it's approved, I guess I'm guessing shovels in the ground in the coming months after that.
good. So we recommend to council.
Correct.
All right. Any other questions?
Can I ask one more question? Is there going to be a sidewalk at all? Is that what I'm seeing? Or
Not what you're seeing on the plat. What you're seeing on the plat is our setback lines.
okay,
The sidewalk is actually within that 66 feet of right-of-way. So it's not shown physically on the plat, but it's within the right-of-way, further down in the design.
Okay, anybody else? Anybody want to make a motion to recommend to council?
I would make that motion.
Motion by Olson, second by Veliker, that we recommend to council the final plat for the River North Ridge subdivision, just off of Royalton Street. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Against, say no. Motion carried. Next up, we have public,
Thank you, commissioners.
yeah, hey, have a great night.
Thanks, you too.
Next up, we have public art submission. This is the Shine sculpture. J-Rod, I think you're,
Yeah, happy to start this one. We do have representatives from the Shine Sculpture in the audience, so if there are questions directly for them, I am sure they are more than happy to discuss. But a little background, the Waupaca Community Arts Board has been working on a new art project over the last few years. They're working with the Foundry, as well as they had worked with numerous community stakeholders and community individuals to create this piece of art that entails a metal frame with with fused tiles created by individuals that will go in the metal forged frame that the Foundry is making. So quite a bit of work has gone into this. It's a super neat project. There are tons of links within this memo that I will give credit where credit is due. I did take this memo from Laura, our Park and Rec director. So kudos to her. And thank you, Laura. But they have on their website, more information about the Shine sculpture. There's also a couple news coverage stories about the artwork. So, super exciting that we have a arts group that is passionate about what they do and really making these projects come to life. So, as part of the submission, they did also put together kind of a narrative. Their background, the funding, past examples, I guess, of what they look like, what installation is going to look like, maintenance, and then the only thing that we have yet to finalize, which just approval of this would be contingent on finalizing a memorandum of understanding, just on what tasks are the city's responsibilities and what tasks are the arts group responsibilities. So I guess there's a little bit of background. More than happy to toss it to Marcy if you guys would like, and I'm sure she can give you a little more information on the art piece and what they plan to do.
hey, Mars.
I've got a question.
Yes.
How are those tiles fused into the frame?
So the
Or
frame is
secured?
it's So there's these openings in the frame, and I don't know if there's
I
a,
actually saw frames at work. I mean, I work at the foundry,
Okay.
so
okay.
I've seen the frames. I just was wondering how those are put into that.
They made some extra things that fit into the holes that you saw on the frame, and those are the actual frames. So there's one going in one side, one going in the other, and in between there is where the tile sits, with a ring of silicone on both sides.
Okay, so the silicone will hold
Yeah,
it in
so the
place.
silicone bead will make it so that with weather expansion and stuff like that. And then those inserted frames get bolted into the framework with special bolts that cannot be removed unless you have a special tool, which they will give us a special tool to have on hand if we have to replace any of them.
Who's going to put all those in there?
Pardon?
Who's putting all those tiles in?
Well, the joke is that they're going to make us old ladies get up on the ladder and do it. But it's a 3-day installation process. So the first day is about preparing the site and doing the flat work. So drilling down the footings, which are 4 foot, and then the flat work in between so that they can pour cement. Then the second day, they'll be bringing the frames down on a big truck with a crane, and they'll lower each one in and then level it and then pour the cement. And then the third day, we're supposed to put the tiles in. So that's the part that I guess I can't really address. I'm assuming that nobody wants 60 and 70-year-old ladies 8 feet on a ladder. And we're obviously going to help put them in. But when we get to a certain height, we're going to need to have some city work or park and rec help with that.
So I saw one of your concerns is broken tiles.
Yep.
Is that from you ladies installing, or is that from somebody
From
throwing rocks at it?
vandalism.
From vandalism? So that's
Yeah.
my next question is, do we have any cameras that are facing towards that?
Right now, you don't, or to my knowledge, you don't. And there's been some discussion about just things like that, prevention of vandalism. And then the biggest issue is what to do if it does get vandalized. I will say, with the recessed nature of the tiles being recessed in there, and you know what I mean because you saw the thing, right? It's harder to hit a target when it's recessed with a stone. If a tile gets damaged, and that would be really the only way that it would be, is if somebody tried to break it, then we would be available to help determine if it needs to be repaired or replaced. And we have a big box of replacement tiles for that purpose that Laura Colbert will keep in the Park and Rec department.
Maybe you wouldn't even need cameras. You just need a little sign that says there are cameras in view. Of
Yeah,
this
that was
structure.
talked about. I think there's some already down on the other side of the porta potty that says there's a camera, and I don't think there really is, but I don't know. We did actually talk quite a bit about vandalism and the whole idea of when you beautify something, it actually, research shows that it cuts down on vandalism. And we also noted that when the bandstand was taken down, a lot of the vandalism decreased. So we don't feel too worried about it, but, you know, obviously it could happen. So that's one of the things that we wrote into the memorandum of understanding, is that we would be available to help work that out, you know. And we have the glass artist who's willing to repair tiles. And quite honestly, fused glass is becoming a thing, so I just don't think that's going to be a problem if in the future we need to even make more tiles. So,
Thank you.
yep.
Marcy, again, how tall are the panels again?
They're 8 feet tall.
Okay.
They're like they're like Stonehenge, basically. And then the way we kind of have mapped out how we want them is sort of in a Stonehenge kind of arrangement. There's only 4 of them. It's not really like Stonehenge. But what's interesting is the day that we mapped and measured, the sun literally came straight through the one on this side and then the one on this side. So there could be some sort of, you know, weird stuff that we could market with that. Call it Waupaca henge.
J-Rod, what are we looking for here tonight?
Yeah, so recommended action. You guys would be the final approval, so would be looking for An approval of the Public Art Shine project in Rotary Riverview Park between the playground and the Rotary Plaza, contingent upon the creation of a memorandum of understanding between all involved parties and the recommended or approval from the Park and Rec Board to have it actually go in the park.
And Parks and Rec meets tomorrow, I thought you said, Eric? Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
You want to try to have this, if we approve it, installed by Arts on the Square, probably.
No, the Foundry, their calendar really is for fall.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah, and we've had some discussion about maybe trying to plan it around Fall-orama, but of course it's a different park. And it's really going to just be contingent on the Foundry's schedule, honestly. The celebration can happen anytime, though. You know, I don't think we really want crowds of people there while we're installing it. And like I said, it's a 3-day process, and I don't know if those are 3 consecutive days. It's going to depend also on Fox Brothers and all of that kind of stuff. So
what's the life expectancy of this?
well, that's probably a good question. If it doesn't get damaged purposefully, it seems like it would be indefinite. The metal parts, originally they thought that they wanted to pour them last fall so they could put them in a snowbank over the winter and have them go through the rusting process. But now they have this salt spray that will create that rusting process so that no rust drips down and thereby causes damage. So I think that that's a key factor. It's not going to self-destruct. The one that we've done at South Park, it just doesn't look any different than the day it was installed. I mean, I just went down there the other day, and a couple of the tiles have a little bit of rust on them. They did powder coat all of them. So I think that's the only issue with that sculpture, but I don't think that that's an issue that's going to destroy it.
So there aren't any, like, pieces that can fall off?
No.
The obelisk or anything?
No, it's just a solid wall of metal. I don't know if you guys saw those videos the news people did, but it was really incredibly amazing to watch that happen at the Foundry. I mean, oh my gosh. Just the whole atmosphere there and the fire and the sparks and all of the safety measures and just, I don't know. And the fact that they made the frame from a 3D printer, and we've got this 3D printer at the hub, which we've got this whole STEAM thing going there. And it's just like so cool to see that, you know, kids that are learning to do that, this is the real life of 3D printers. It's actually used to make stuff. And, you know, we just learned so much. It was really cool.
Yeah, they are. Well, and Marcy, to your response, I think there is instructions on ladders that if you're over the age of 65, you're not supposed to
Sorry, I can't.
climb over the
What did
first
you
step.
say, Brian? I didn't hear you.
There's instructions for the ladders.
Oh,
If you're over 65, you can only go to the first rung.
really?
That's it.
And you go to the second rung, and if you put little bumpers down on the ground.
Yeah. And
That's
the
what my
guide rope.
kids tell me.
Yeah, so we went into this like kind of similarly to when we did the other thing. You know, we thought, oh, this is cool, let's make these tiles. And then it just kept getting bigger and bigger. And the Foundry made that gigantic sculpture with those tiles. And we didn't really pre-plan a lot of stuff, like who's going to dig the holes and who's going to do all that stuff. And we're sort of found ourselves in the same situation here. But everybody's been really great and supportive and collaborative, and I really appreciate that. We know that the cost of cement and what other things they use for footings, I think you were going to talk to Fox about that.
Yep.
My guess is they're going to say yes. I don't know. What was your feeling when you talked to them?
They're checking on it.
They're checking?
Yep.
Okay.
Should know more tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Yeah. The other option we have, if we have time, is I could approach Rotary for a grant. They have a really generous granting process, and this would really fit into everything that Rotary is all about. So I have no concept of what the cement will cost. I think the cost of man hours, which we've talked quite a bit about and decided that the city and Park and Rec would do the man hours. It's just the cost of the materials that we didn't have in the budget. So I guess that's how we're going to roll. Is that right, Jared?
I believe so.
One of our many meetings.
I guess I wanted to, this is kind of our first go-round of a new process to
Right.
review public art, right? I mean, there's been a 6-month effort or more to try to come up with a process, and so this is the first time that we're doing it, right?
It is, and it's been a lot of just kind of feeling your way forward and working, with Jared. And the first thing I did was do a proposal, and then we're working on the MOA right now. I have a draft to Jared. He just hasn't had a chance to look at it, but I think after this go around, it'll be easier to really specifically know what you need to do for this process, because there's been a lot of concern in the Arts and Culture Network about not having a lot of planning where art's going to go, and worry that we're going to have like almost too much or it's going to look kind of tacky. And so putting this process into place was sort of a stopgap so that everybody at every level could weigh in. And so that's why we're going through this committee, and then we'll go through Park and Rec because it's going into a park. And I think it makes sense. It's pretty slow, but what's the hurry, right?
I just want to make one comment on the process. Yes, it is the first time going through this process. This one's a little unique, I think, because it's in a park. I mean, when we started talking about creating this process, I think a lot of pieces have gone on Main Street or on walls and murals and such. Because this is in a park, I think the Park and Rec Department has taken much more of a lead role, like you would expect, and why it's going to Park and Rec Board. So maybe a little different than we anticipated, but still going through it.
Right. And prior to it coming here, Jared sent it to 3 different groups. One of them was Waupaca King and In Between, I think, and the Arts Network. I can't even remember, but he got a lot of feedback, a lot of questions. So then we went through all of those questions, answered all of those. It helped us clarify a lot of stuff, what we needed to put in the proposal. And it took a long time, and it was kind of a pain in the butt, but actually that's probably good. When something's going to be a permanent structure, everybody should think it's a good thing. We don't want to put anything that people don't like or feel is divisive. So I think that's a good process for public art.
Yeah, it did go through, it went to the Historical Society, the Chamber, a representative of the business community, and then obviously city staff.
Yeah.
Reviewed it all during that time as a preliminary review, got them back comments, and then we adjusted from there.
Have we presented this city council is aware of this.
Of the shine sculpture or the
Yeah,
process?
Of the project.
I don't think directly. I guess my intent, or what we had kind of discussed moving forward, is if this was approved, it would go in our reports in the second meeting of the month, and then council would be informed that way.
So there would be some question in my mind that even though it's going in a park, it's still city property, and so ultimately city council makes the final decision on what happens in city property. So I would say that this would take council approval.
Maybe the Parks meeting tomorrow would just recommend to council.
I mean, ultimately, Parks does not have any powers except to recommend.
Yeah,
Well, and it's going in, I think the reason it's going to parks is because it's going in a park.
Yeah.
correct. Yeah, it's going in a
Right.
park. The idea was that the plan commission would make the official approval.
Well, and I'm
But
okay
it-
with that too, but it's,
Council can make the final approval if that is so decided.
I mean, I think that's the way we've always handled it. If it's city-owned property, then it's,
Okay.
council has to make the final. I wish I would have been a part of this, because I would have said that at the beginning.
That's not a problem. Especially since the installation isn't set for fall, we have time to come through another meeting, and it might be nice if it comes to council, if we put a couple of pictures up on the screen too, I think, for people to really understand it. Because it just doesn't, I don't know how you guys can understand it if you haven't seen it. I'm really glad that you saw it because it's mammoth and it's going to be amazing. But we could even bring a couple of tiles in for people to see.
I think that would be great, actually.
Yeah, it would be. And then the thing is because we got a Wisconsin Arts Board grant, we will have to have a celebration. That's part of our obligation. And we'll have to invite a lot of people, senators and yada, yada. We did that last time, actually. And so it's going to be like a celebration, a party with maybe some snacks, maybe some music. We aren't sure how much money we'll have left for that, but we will definitely do that. And it'd be nice for city council to be able to say, we approve this, and to come to that celebration.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Do you have pictures of it? I take it you do, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Got 10,000. Yeah. If you go on our website and you click on Shine, it takes you to a gallery and all of the completed tiles are on there and everybody's name. So it's really interesting to look at them. Oh, you're going to look right now? Because we had people who were 8 years old and people who were 90 years old making these tiles, and lots of levels of our community were involved in it. Keep going down. It's probably down farther now because there it is. Oh, they put that picture up. That's funny. So then click on
I
gallery,
have seen these, yeah.
and I guess scroll down. Yeah, there they all are.
But do you have pictures of the frame itself?
Of the frame, I think that's back on the Shine page. There's a schematic of it. We don't have an actual picture. Well, no, we do have some pictures. I just haven't put them on the website yet. Maybe they're on there. Yeah, she's been updating our website with.
Did you say
up-to-date
there was a
stuff.
schematic on here somewhere, or is that not on here?
Are you operating that?
I am, yeah.
Go back to the Shine page. Click on there, yeah. Now scroll down there. Keep going. And yeah, just do that. And then there will be eventually a picture of the frame. I hope she put, there it is, right there. So that's just one of 4 pieces that make up one panel. So each panel has, I believe it's 4 pieces, maybe 6, I can't remember.
Yeah, and that
It
that
looks
piece of
like
plywood is 42 by 48, so that gives you an idea of the size.
Yeah. There's 2 different sizes of tiles too. So, and you can see how deep that is.
Wow.
So the tiles will be sort of recessed in the middle of all of that. And they've been working on this design, how long? Yeah, 4th version of it. And all the technicalities that go into creating this and designing it and all the I don't know, all the physics of it and everything. They know exactly how deep the footings have to go so that it is safe to be standing tall. They put a ton of work into it.
Eric, is that poured?
Yeah. They must have made a sand. It was since it was printed.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest size piece that you guys can.
Well, it's not something that went on our molding machine per se.
Okay.
They made that sand mold that you see
Yeah.
right there, and then they just dumped iron in it by hand. They probably even have pictures of that, right? They just dumped iron right into that sand.
It was in a machine, and you could see the iron going in.
Oh, they just slid the machine over and
Yeah.
dumped right into it. Yeah,
And they had to shut down the production line for this. So the cost, I mean, if you really wanted to put the true cost into this, it's way higher than we think it is.
Yeah, because I'm sure the machine. I think we say, like $3,500 per half hour on that machine.
Wow.
On one machine. So yeah, there's some costs there, but that's just giving back to the community.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been amazing. And then they arranged to have we got there and there were these TV stations there. We had no idea we thought it was like their internal marketing people that were coming. Then it was on TV and it's just been amazing, really. And today, through the Arts Network, we met with the new senator. She's not new, but because they redrew the the lines, I guess. We have a senator now from Appleton. I forget her name, but she came and met with us. Do you remember her name, Aaron?
Cabral Guevara.
Yeah, Caval Guevara.
Right off the top.
Oh my God, you're getting the attention of state elected officials. That's good.
Yeah.
Rachel.
Well, Ann Katz arranged it. And we had almost everyone from the network there talking about collaboration. And this woman was truly, sincerely amazed with Waupaca. She couldn't believe the level of passion and just the foresightedness and just the way people work together here. It kind of blew her away. It was cool.
When the downtown was done and all those rails were taken out, it used to be the
Trolley.
car rails, Justin stored them for us for a while. And he got kind of tired of doing it.
I'm charging rent on that.
Yeah.
Should I?
Yeah. Like the W.
You know, Anita, the people that are listening to you live are not gonna like it because they can't hear what you're saying.
Oh, are we on Facebook?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Then I won't say anything.
She's just saying
Well,
that
you can stand up and talk.
we used the trolley rails that were beneath Main Street when they dug up the street, and Justin saved them for a future art project, didn't you, Justin?
Yep.
And so they took those and melted them down, and that's what's part of what those frames are. So it's got a lot of deep meaning. This thing does. It's
That's
really
pretty cool.
really something. And Mike Hemela is the king of the foundry, in my opinion.
That's my boss.
I thought
Is he
Eric
your
was a
boss?
kid.
He's amazing. Just super nice and
I
just,
do like the location too. I think that's a good location.
do you like
for
it?
them.
Yeah.
I know
Well-
you guys were looking at different spots, but ultimately, I think that's a really good spot.
Yeah. I kind of wish it could have gone on the other side where the bandstand was, but there's so much granite down there. I guess there's like a granite shelf under that spot, and they needed to have these 4-foot footings, so that's kind of why we ended up. But honestly, it's going to be really cool. I can just see people picnicking down there, sitting in the midst of the beautiful color. I think there's going to be a lot of color that comes through there. And with 156 tiles made by 156 individual people, it's going to be a draw. People are going to be, pointing to them. That's my tile. Yeah, it's going to be amazing, really. So thank you guys for everything.
Okay, so anybody else, any other questions? So I think we've changed the plan here is that we're gonna recommend this to council
Okay.
For approval. Anybody wanna make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion by Velker, second by Olson, that we recommend to council the approval of the placement of these tiles. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against, say no. Motion carried.
Thank
Marcy,
you.
Thank you
Good
for
luck.
coming.
Thank you guys for all
Anita,
your
it's good to
effort.
see you again. It's been a long time. Yeah.
Are you supposed to speak at Parks tomorrow? Too?
Do you think I should go?
I don't know. I mean, it is a different group. That is true. I just didn't know if you needed to be on the agenda or anything, or if you were already.
I don't know if I was on this agenda, but it was in the packet, so I could just show up and.
Or
I
maybe give
would.
Laura a call tomorrow and see what she thinks.
I would. It's not over, but you can ask something.
Well, you have to go to the mic.
No, I want to ask what kind of things the council would like to have in a packet that they should look at so they can see this ahead of time and, get their questions ready ahead of time, not
Yeah, so let's have Jared,
Jared works with.
you work with Marcy and get it, let's get her done that way. Yeah, so,
Yeah, and I mean, it's anything that you want to
Pull it out, but
So, I mean, a picture of the tile, a picture of the schematic. Yeah, any visuals would be ideal. So, yeah, whatever you think. Yeah, not a problem. Thank you.
Thanks,
Have a good
guys.
bye.
Yeah, just cut it short.
Okay, next up is discussion on future expansion of Highway 10. Is that right? I don't have the agenda in front of me, but I think that's what
That
it
is
said.
right.
Yep. So just a discussion. So this is one carried over from last time, last meeting. It starts on page 15 of your packet. There's just some visuals showing you some different instances. So last time we kind of went over all the reasons that it makes sense in staff's mind. We wanted to let you guys sit on it, see if you guys came up with any other questions. We wanted additional staff time to talk about maybe what's next in the process. Staff did have a chance to do that, but I guess first wanted to touch base and see if anybody, came up with any specific questions that we can try to answer or write down and get you answers for.
I'm just curious, were all commissioners here for that? I know I was actually not able to make that meeting.
You were not here. I think Mayor Smith had showed up just near the end for this item.
I was here for this whole one. Wasn't this at the last meeting?
Was it at the last one?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep, I was here for that.
you were here, and then I don't think
Angela wasn't
Yeah,
here.
Angela was not here. Dana was.
But everyone here was here.
Yes.
Okay.
Even Jake was here too.
Oh yeah, Jake was here. Yep.
Yep.
Well, I think it's prudent to be thinking about that side of the road now that we can serve it potentially, right? With what's going on Runway Drive.
Yeah, we kind of brainstormed last time and we went many directions, but it really does make sense that sewer and water would be run down that property and what is the best usage for that property, and we can only guess what that is. But whatever the case is, we're gonna need sewer and water there, so we might as well start the process of notifying these property owners that they'll have access to sewer and water, I guess is the way I look at it. I mean, again, I'm not so sure, the old adage that you have a 4-lane highway with an airport there doesn't make sense for residential. I don't know that that's really the truth anymore, when you look at some of the other larger communities where they actually do have residentials on 4-lane bypass highways near airports. Doesn't seem to bother people as much as it used to. Maybe because they all have air conditioning now, I don't know. So.
Mayor, you mind if I just bring up a couple of conversations Jared and I had about this?
Yeah, go ahead.
So this is, if, when we're talking about this area, we've talked about, it really only impacts a couple properties within the city limits, and that's right here, these two properties. And then the rest of this is all town of Lind currently. So, the internal conversations we've had is, well, this seems like a great spot for industrial, heavy industrial specifically, which heavy industrial in a future land use map or a zoning district then allows basically every type of commercial too. So it's the most flexible zoning that's non-residential. Internally, when we're changing, usually you change future land use maps through comp plan amendments and through comp plan processes. So when we're looking at just this focused area, we've struggled internally. We're like, well, what should we do to ensure that we feel like that's the best route for this? And maybe it's just these conversations like we're having right now. Is it bringing, select focus groups together from stakeholders that may be impacted? Is it, there's even been suggestions or talk of like doing an official plan. Now, it's a pretty small area. It's a visible area. This is just my opinion. I'm not sure spending money and months on a plan to look at something like this makes sense, in my opinion, but does bringing some stakeholder groups together makes sense. I don't know. I guess I'm just, based on our internal conversations, looking for anyone's opinion, really.
Well, the market will help us, right? I mean, the success that we have with our subdivision just north of the airport, I mean, and we, at least we've heard that many of those residents kind of chose Waupaca because of its central location and easy in and easy out, which this side brings. So just to piggyback on the mayor's point, you know, housing is in great demand right now, and, you know, but who knows, right?
And so this would, housing and, with housing and demand, this would change, what Jared is bringing forward is to have all of this, housing would no longer be allowed in that zone.
Right.
So this would all be heavy industrial or commercial.
And
Do you guys at Dirt, could you bring in a little panel of developers maybe? Maybe some that do more commercial, industrial, and then the more of the housing, and just have some coffee and some donuts and talk about it maybe.
Well, Jared and I did talk today about that this afternoon, about selecting, well, again, we refer to them as stakeholders, but yeah, somebody like that and others to see what the thoughts are and then bring it back. So we're kind of, we think it makes sense for a lot of reasons, but, you know, it's it would be a shift in two major maps and in a very, very visible interchange. So we want to make sure that we
And,
get buy-in from others.
and to the discussion, you know, of what we want to see down here, it very well could be housing, very well could be industrial, it could be anything. It's just really planning for those next steps. The intent of moving towards industrial is that it is, you know, it's at that central location, it's next to the highway, you know, it has highway frontage, you know, it is next to the airport, which across the way is going to be more industrial, you know, as we already have a proposal going in on Runway Drive, just across Highway 10. You know, there's a few more industrial businesses down there already. You know, and it's looking at the city as a whole. So, you know, if we were to hypothetically choose that residential should go down in this area, not industrial, you know, we are slowly running out of industrial. So it would just be the next conversation of, okay, well, where is the next good spot for it that meets the demands and the requirements of the industrial? You know, so it could go anywhere. I mean, go off of any interchange. It could go on the north side. It's just, you know, starting that discussion of where would the best spot be? You know, and there is no right or wrong answer. It's just whatever everybody feels is the best.
To me, it seems logical, this move or slight shift, because, you know, the heavy industry wants the freeway access. It's right there. It's already noisy. It's already loud. You have the highway department right there, so you're already talking big trucks are present. You have the one grain silos. I mean, so that's going to be big trucks in and out. So to me, like long term, I would think, I mean, we did just make a subdivision, a residential area in what used to be our industrial park. So now we need to kind of make sure we didn't shoot ourselves in the foot. Plus, maybe it opens up for like a distribution center. I hope I'm not overspeaking my bounds, but you know, that's kind of the wave of the future. The big shops, big stores are drying up, and the online shopping is there. So I think it makes more sense doing that. And like Jared already alluded to, on the opposite side, we have a development agreement with, I would say, a light industrial business. They wanted to be right next to Highway 10. That was the driver for that. So,
Well, if you just look at the dollar and cents of putting the utilities in, our service requirements are going to be a lot more, a lot better, a lot easier to deal with if it is industrial stuff, right?
right, and we're able to serve. I mean, the stuff which you should know, Henry, around the interchange there, we have sewer and water. It's just the vacant
To the east.
to the east
Yeah.
we don't currently have.
If you scroll up one, Aaron,
Well, it's so ironic because when that bypass was put in, we were being strategic and really felt that that would develop a lot into commercial. And it never did, right? And the argument was you don't have enough rooftops. And now we're getting some more rooftops on that side of town. So, well, it's not the first time that we've set zoning, and if something required a shift and it made sense, we could always shift, maybe.
Yeah,
On the first one that gets pulled in there, of any significant size.
yeah, as long as we don't get pigeonholed into just one, where it has to all be industrial.
Right.
You know, I mean, our industrial park, our old industrial park is a perfect example of that. You know, when you had centerline machine in there, basically, you know, we thought all of that would be industrial, and turns out that's the only thing that's industrial. You know, I mean, in that side of the road and stuff. So, I mean, as long as we have the ability to change with the times, because right now, industrial is not knocking on our door, but residential is knocking on our door.
Is there
And
a-
building
sorry.
the houses that we are now is that gonna be enough? I mean, I know it wasn't too many years ago that we said we had enough housing to last us our lifetime, you know? And maybe not Jared's lifetime, but our lifetime, you know? So and now look at how much we've expanded on that. And it's only been a couple of years. So
I
maybe
wonder
there
what
will
the
be more.
market for distribution centers are, and I'm not thinking Amazon or that level, but maybe a lower tier, the next tier kind of business or something that might find our location in pretty much central Wisconsin off a major road would be good. Does the town, this is Lynn, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Do they have to, they don't have to sign off on any kind of zoning that we might want to put on here, right? It's extraterritorial?
So we had some discussions with some just outside sources, and really their recommendation was not to go through that process. It was, if we're going to move forward with this, annex it.
Just do it.
That way you can just do things with it, and otherwise you're going to go through a 1.5-year process
Okay.
to have no control over it, and then you're going to have to go through that annexation process anyways. So their recommendation was, if you're going to do it, do it. Put the horse on your back and carry it off into the sunset.
Do we have any idea what those costs are to annex a property? I mean, number one, and I don't know how much they pay for property tax on that, but I can't remember what it is. It's either 3 or 5.
I think it's 5, isn't it?
5 years, we have
Lost
to pay
revenue.
property taxes to the town of Lynn, so that's an expense. Plus whatever legal expenses there are, and then wining and dining the property owners too, to convince them to annex into our community. I mean, there's cost involved in that. So, I mean, we know that there's one interested business out there that's the Ron Brooks thing, and if he was to be able to put his business on that property, right by the intersection almost, right? I mean, that would stop any residential from happening out there for sure. That would actually make it easier for us, actually, because then we'd know it's gonna be manufacturing or industrial.
There's a property owner of 4 parcels out there that are within kind of the area we're looking at. They have expressed interest in going out there. Just with lack of utilities, that interest has kind of died. So, but they still own the parcels, and I mean, I shouldn't say it died. It was lessened, but they still have brought up the interest in expanding out to their parcels that
If
they
you're
own out.
talking Swiderski, we've been
Yeah.
dealing with them, I think, the whole time I've been mayor,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Now, would that be considered an I-2 or I-1 use?
Currently they're I2. Yeah. But I mean, they could also go probably in an I1, I believe.
You don't think there's any appetite, I mean, maybe communities aren't doing this anymore, of just knowing that we have limited industrial property, of us acquiring the land and developing it ourselves? There's probably no appetite to do that anymore.
Well, we don't have the ability to put in a
To-
TIF there, so,
That'd be the only way that we could afford to purchase it.
don't you
But
think?
and what's the horizon? I mean, we're years away from getting under the 12% rule, probably.
Yeah, we're probably looking at 2034 is when TIF 8 and 4 close,
All right.
which are the big ones.
All right, there's no appetite for that. Yeah.
All right, Jared.
Well, I'm a bit surprised that they haven't moved the current owner on something on that. They've owned that over 20 years, I think, right? They owned it prior to the bypass being put in, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, they did.
And they were real aggressive on their property on the west side there, across from Foxfire.
So if we annex that property, can't we just annex that property in at what it's being, so if it's farmland, can't it still be annexed in as farmland?
I was going to mention it's all assessed as ag right now. So
Yeah.
that would be
Yeah,
a
it's all
market.
assessed as ag when hypothetically, if it comes into the city, it would still be ag. And even if the zoning is changed to industrial, the use will still be ag and the assessment will still be ag. So the zoning has really no effect on the assessment. It'll just be ag until it switches to something else. And that could be housing. That could be, even if we had an industrial park that nothing came of it. If we feel as though this is, if we were to go through that process and feel that, hey, yep, housing is nothing but going up, let's do it again here, we certainly could. But until then, it would just remain ag. They'd be allowed to continue doing everything that they're doing on it as they have been.
It does make sense, though, that we are, if we're going to expand manufacturing-wise or industrial, it's gonna be on Highway 10, and it's either gonna be, what, is that east or west, right, or is that south and north?
South and north.
South and north of Waupaca.
Or east and west, I'm
East
sorry.
and- okay.
Sorry. And we'd looked at that, Mayor, too, and this just, when you look at where would you go with heavy industrial? This, you go where there's the lowest density of population, and this is pushing that corner of the city in which that's the case.
Yeah, it makes sense. Of course, we thought buying all that, where the new north, or where the river, or whatever our new subdivision is out here, we thought that was gonna be our new industrial park. Look at how many years it sat there,
Well, you had
as a
this,
cornfield.
you had this housing development plan the whole time, Mayor.
Yeah, I did. I did. I
You were
just
playing the
couldn't
long
convince
game.
our city administrator to go along with me. But yeah, so, I mean, I don't think that should necessarily stop us, but I do think that putting money into this without having a true plan is probably not. We should probably try and keep it as little as possible.
Well, to that point, I guess maybe I can offer a suggestion. To kind of what Aaron and I had discussed, we thought it would be good to not do a plan, but staff take some time to reach out to some applicable stakeholders such as the WMC, who they advocate for manufacturing, they advocate for industrial, they advocate for heavy commercial. Talk with them, get their thoughts on it. Talk with the WEDC, Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation, get their thoughts. They're obviously trying to bring business into the state and, from out of state and even out of country. So they obviously have some experience. So if we do some background, discussions, bring back more information from them. I mean, if we have two sources, knowledgeable like that come forward and say like, no, probably not, won't work. It's probably going to sit there vacant for 35 years. Then it's a non-starter. But if they come forward with a lot of support, a lot of interest, maybe they can be the ones to push some businesses that way. And then from that point, if it appears that it may be a good idea, then at that point we can pull in some more local stakeholders, have some community discussions, really talk with Lind, because we're not going to waste Lind's time right now. I mean, there's nothing, we're just talking at this point. You're not going to go to them and, with minimal information and no answers to their questions. So, get more information, have some more localized stakeholder meetings, invite the town of Lynn to talk, invite, other manufacturing businesses, maybe the foundry who have, maybe they have some supply chain, partners that would love to come to Waupaca and be a little bit closer to the foundry or things like that. So maybe start big. Let's get some more information from some people that really know what they're talking about, and then bring it more localized with that information, and then, talk more. Does that sound like an okay plan forward? No decisions at this point, no annexation, no spending extra money until we have a little bit more of an idea.
Well, I think that's the right way to look at it. I mean, I would suggest maybe you talk to, New North is still going. I mean, that would be a good one for you to talk to about that. There's no doubt that, a lot of these things that you're talking about, we've tried to do them in the past, but that doesn't mean that they shouldn't be revisited, quite honestly. So, I mean, I don't think it hurts to do that.
And I guess with that was a perfect, segue. Are there any other stakeholders that you guys can think of that we're not? And, like I said, the WMC and the WEDC are the only ones that popped in my head, but New North I did not even think about. Are there any others that anyone else can think about? And if not now, if you can't sleep one night and pops into your head, shoot me an email.
I think that primary group, I think those three are the big ones, and then the secondary group, I think the county with the county highway shop there, and obviously that's county zoning right now, if it's not in the city, so that would be another one for that, once we get to the local stakeholders.
Where does this put, I mean, if we're basically have a plan here, where does this put, because we really started this discussion because of Ron Brooks's interest in putting his, what do you call that? Digester on city property, because he wasn't able to do it in the town of Lend. So that's really where does this put him in future planning?
I think that's a good question. And I will point out at this point, the property that he owns that is within the city, it is not zoned for what he's looking to do, nor does the comprehensive land use map, which is part of our comprehensive plan, which we have to abide by when changing the zoning, nor does that map allow for the zoning to be changed to what he wants to do. So at this point, I'm sure this is not something, and I don't want to speak out of place. We maybe need to talk more internally about it, but my initial thought goes to, and based on a comment you had made, I think we need to figure out what we're doing in this area first. Because if the zoning is changed on that parcel and the digester's allowed to go in, this area is going to industrial. We're not going to switch it to housing. Decision's been made. But if we really want to gather evidence, make it a very informed, smart decision based on information we have gathered from expert sources, we probably want to take a little time to do that. That might put his project on hold, but we're not saying no. We're just saying give us time to make sure we're making the right decisions, which I think is what anybody can ask of a local government. So, I
like that. And I'm not against his project, to tell you the truth. I just want to know the ramifications and how that affects. I mean, I think we should all look at it that way.
He's got some deadline, I'm thinking, doesn't he, to pull the trigger, right? Because I thought he got some EPA money or some federal dollars to help with that project.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know that, I think he's still,
The clock might be ticking for him.
his primary, I think he'd like to have that where it was originally proposed. And this is just another parcel that is in the region or in the area that's owned by them and wants to see if it's even feasible. It's not something he said, yeah, we're going to do that there, but he's asked questions about it.
When you were talking about, it reminds you of Yellowstone. The Highway 10 is the new Yellowstone Trail. So yeah, there you go.
Synergy.
Isn't it? Isn't it? something? Well, again, we're not having this discussion to stop him from doing that project. We want to make sure that if he does do this project here, that it fits within what the city wants that to look like out there. It
100%.
makes the most sense for us.
100%. Typically in a perfect process, and I know this parcel was not his first choice, so totally understandable. But in a perfect process, this would have been, something that is brought forward, discussed, obviously understood that, hey, it's not ready for that, but could it be? And then time is allowed. And, to Henry's point, he might be on a little bit of a time crunch because he was already trying to look at putting it somewhere else. And now this is a secondary choice, but we still need to do our due diligence and
That's his problem.
double check. So,
It's not our problem. Yeah.
but yeah, we're by no means saying yes. We're by no means saying no. We're not trying to discredit or favor any project. We're just trying to do what's right.
Yeah. Got it. All right. Anything else on this? Let's talk reports and development update.
Nothing happening. So have a good night. No, I'm just kidding. No, lots happening. Building permits are constantly coming in. So it's great to see. You won't see it on this one, but we just had a bunch of new mobile homes come in to fill up our mobile home park, which, every unit of housing is great because it fits somebody's needs. So I'm excited for that. But continuing to see lots of projects from both building and site plans and zoning. So I'm happy to take any specific questions if you have any. Otherwise, they're all pretty standard coming in.
Just give a quick update. I did meet with the owner of the old St. Mary's Church property a week ago, and he's still moving forward. They're still moving forward. They're submit plans to the state again, and we're working very closely with the plan reviewers leading up to this submittal, and they expect that to be done by the end of June or approved, and hopefully start construction by the end of July. Now, that was a development agreement that was signed in which the terms are no longer exactly on track. So city council may expect to see an amended development agreement coming forward in the upcoming months as well. So
I saw you met with, was that yesterday or today that you met with John Piotr? So, I mean, and just talking about his project up by Hardee's, is there any new information there going on?
Not entirely. He asked us to check into and double check a few things. We are doing our due diligence to double check on those items. But otherwise, he's currently working with an architect to create a site plan to see how he can make what he wants to do work. And then working, because we have the utility interference there issues, so working with city staff and DPW to relocate those lines so that he can do what he wants to do. So not much has changed. The plan is generally still the same, just minor modifications here and there to, I guess, accommodate what we need to accommodate.
He
Correct me if
owns
I'm
both the parcels, right? The one where the trees are down.
Yep.
So combined, how many acres is that? Three or four or something?
Yeah.
summer.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, and he's got the hill though. He has to cut into the hill, but there's enough ground to do something in there, isn't there?
Yes.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
He wants to do multiple projects.
Yeah,
But yeah,
two separate projects on the two separate parcels. And the first one would be that smaller parcel. It's kind of what we talked about recently. And that topography, like you said, that topography, even though it's a larger lot, that presents, maybe only 60% of it's usable. Presents some challenges there.
you guys didn't have the discussion about Highway 49 with him, did you?
No.
Kinda.
But,
How's our project off Runway Drive coming?
Runway Drive. Oh, Alliance?
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
heard back from them today, actually.
Okay, cool.
And I heard from their project manager, he said that they had a little delay in purchasing basically a bunch of material for the project. He said that they have done that now, and they're looking to press forward. Everything's still on track to be done this year. However, I did email them back right before this meeting and just ask, do you have any specific timelines on when we can expect site plan submittals and building permit applications? I just sent it. within a
Because
matter
we
of
have a
hours.
development agreement with them, correct?
We do. That development agreement states that they provided a letter of credit for $118,000. But it also says that when we go through the special assessment process, if they have less of an expense through that process, that we will honor that. If they have more of an expense through that process, they will be responsible for that. However, if they are not completed by December 31st of this year, they're on the hook for that $118,000, no matter what that amount is through the special assessment process. So they do have that. That is hanging.
Yeah, a little bit of a incentive for them to keep moving, yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Eric, Henry, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against, say no. Motion carried. We're adjourned at 6:23 PM. Have a great night, everybody.